All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Dedicated Show. Really excited to go live for a second day in a row here this week, and we have a very special guest joining us today. His name is John Poller. He's the Chief Revenue Officer at Maven Analytics, and we're going to talk to you about how to get your first data job, or basically starting a career in data. Now, a couple of things to cover before I bring up our speaker. Maven Analytics is kind enough to provide a giveaway for this session today. They're giving away a 1-year unlimited access to Maven Analytics content. This includes content around Excel, SQL, Tableau, Power BI, and I believe they also have some introductory machine learning content available as well. I'll have John explain a bit more of what's entailed there, but if you want to participate in that giveaway, all you have to do is type in #dedicated into the comments so we can enter you into the raffle and we'll announce the winners. Now, before we get started, I want to ask everyone who's joining us today, what is your ideal job title? Preferably in the data space, just so we can keep it on topic, but it would be interesting for us to know what would be your ideal job title. I know ideally, nobody dreams of labor, nobody dreams of work, but that's the nature of life. For the most part, we have to work. So let us know your ideal job title. As you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and bring up John Poller here. Hello, and welcome to the Dedicated Show.
Hi, everybody. Kate, thanks for having me on. Really excited to get to talk to everybody and talk a little bit about how to get started on an analytics journey, and would love to answer questions from the audience too.
Yes, good point. Thanks, John. Guys, ask questions. John is going to answer all questions that come in, no matter what topic. He's already promised, but we only have about 45 minutes. So try to get your questions in early so we can go ahead and address those. But John, for those who are not familiar with you, it'd be great if you could do a quick introduction.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm John Poller. I'm one of the partners at Maven Analytics, and we run an online learning platform specializing in teaching people how to pursue business intelligence and data analyst careers. So we teach advanced Microsoft Excel, Power BI, Tableau, SQL, which I'm the lead SQL instructor for Maven. And then we have also just recently launched a machine learning course, or a series of machine learning courses. The third of the fourth course series actually just came out today. So, yeah, the short of it is, if you want a data analyst job, we provide a service that gives you a lot of hands-on projects with the tools that will help you get hired.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And how long have you worked with Maven?
Yeah, I've been full-time for about 1.5 years. And before that, I was moonlighting as a SQL instructor for Maven while I was working in technology startups before that. So it's been probably about 3 years total time with the company.
Okay, cool. And for the giveaway that we're doing today, if you can provide a bit more information on what this lucky winner will get.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're giving away a full access, unlimited membership that's good for 1 year. So that's all you can eat data analyst courses, which includes direct support from instructors. It includes our guided learning offering, where basically you come in, you tell us a little bit about your background, what you are interested in, what your goals are, and then we'll put together a customized learning plan for you. So that's what we call guided learning. So some people might get the full stack of Excel, Power BI, Tableau, and SQL. Others might be really focused on Excel and Power BI, or just Power BI and SQL. Kind of depends on what your goals are, what flavor of data person you're trying to become, and we'll point you in that direction. So yeah, so it's kind of a big giveaway. Hopefully that'll be exciting for some of the people on this chat.
Yes, absolutely. We have a bunch of people already typing in dedicated. A lot of dedicated people in the audience coming in across various social media platforms: LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch. Now, we are getting some questions in already, but before we get to the audience questions, I want to start with just asking you professionally, if somebody were to come to you and say, I think I want to work in data analytics. First of all, would you say that's a great idea, or would you say, I don't know? What would be your initial reaction, and then what would be your advice to them if that's something that they actually want to do?
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely great idea. Working in data is fantastic. It's exciting. You're going to have a lot of fun. You're constantly learning. It's lucrative. Once you have some good experience, the job security is fantastic. So, absolutely, yes, you should. If you're interested, keep learning about it. And I'd say that the first step is just try to orient yourself to the space as a whole. Like, don't just try to start diving into learning a specific tool. Try to understand what are the things that data people work on. How are companies using data? What are those needs? What are the different flavors of people? Like if someone says data analyst versus data scientist versus data engineer, like what are the nuances of the differences of those roles? And
Mhm.
just start to kind of consume information that will help you get that good high level view. And at that stage, when you're just trying to orient yourself to the space, you can figure out all this stuff for free. You don't really need to spend a dime. There's so much information out there. People like Kate who are just constantly sharing information. You could follow Maven Analytics on LinkedIn. There's amazing free YouTube tutorials that are out there. So really, at the beginning stages, just orient yourself. And try to think about like what's the most exciting area for you to go into. And I'd say that's probably your first step.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And we've got people, typing in their ideal job title. So we've got a mix of, data analyst, a lot of data analysts. We've got some saying, data scientist, mad data scientist. Um, Mostly it looks like data analysts coming in. We do have a couple of data engineers.
Yep.
And I think like you mentioned, looking at the free resources, watching some free content to begin with before you commit to either joining some kind of program or taking some kind of degree in school, whatever your journey might be. It's helpful to look at some of this free content just to get a sense for, do you even want to do this, right? Some people might want to become a data scientist because that's what they've been hearing for the past couple of years. Everyone wants to be a data scientist, yes. And then you come out there and you realize maybe you really wanted to be a data analyst. Like I personally like to live on the data visualization side of things. So I started my journey thinking I wanted to be this technical programming data scientist. But early on, I realized I'm like, no, that's not as fun for me. I love learning about this stuff, but I don't actually want to do this for a living. And it is helpful to leverage all of this free content out there, and until you get to the point where you know what you want to focus on, at which point it probably is helpful to go with some sort of program that can help guide you and get there quicker. What do you think?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And I think your anecdote about yourself thinking you wanted to be a data scientist and then realizing you kind of love the data visualization
Yeah.
side. Um, I think that's kind of the most important thing to figure out, because probably the best indicator of your potential success is how excited you are about this stuff, right? If you find the path that you really like, the hours are just going to fly away. It's not going to feel painful. You'll find yourself wishing you had more time to learn, more time to work, versus if you're forcing it down a path that's really not as exciting for you, it's so hard to make that work. So that's why I think like understanding the different paths, maybe sample them all a little bit, understand the
Mhm.
problems, and just try to really lean into one of those directions that you think is going to be most exciting for you. So
Yeah, and I'd love to hear your journey. So how did you kind of go about finding that you love to teach SQL, for example?
yeah, sure. So total accidental analyst. I in college, I randomly had a professor who told me that his Excel TA had quit on him like the day before the course started. So I was in a course, I was enrolled to take a course, and I had him before, and he said, "Would you mind being a TA?" So I ended up being this kind of peer tutor to people who were in my class in this Excel course in college, solving business problems with Excel. And then that had really led me to my first job, where I was working at an ad agency, helping various Fortune 500 companies as a consultant, but primarily as an Excel jockey. So I had about 5 years of my career where I was, just Excel. I really didn't touch SQL, which is what I'm into now. And I think eventually what happened is I was working for a client where the data size constraints just became problematic for the way that I was solving the problems in Excel. And I ended up talking to an engineer that was working with us, and I said, like, look, this is what I want to do. I want to start automating. I want to go for much bigger data sets. And together we worked on a SQL solution, which I had no idea what he was doing. I was kind of just being the business person communicating with him. But then I said, wow, this is amazing. This is a great way to solve these problems. So then I started learning it myself. And kind of since then, I've never looked back. I'd say everything since then, kind of the past 10 years, my roles have been super heavy SQL focused. I still use it every day, and I love it. And the way that I ended up getting into Maven was my business partner, Chris Dutton, who's been teaching Excel for a lot longer than I taught SQL. He said he had kind of decided his Excel teaching business, he wanted to expand that into a business that teaches all the tools that a data analyst needs to be successful. And some of those tools were a little outside of his domain area. So he approached me and said, hey, I'm able to reach so many students, and what do you think about this? And eventually wore me down, and I decided to do it. And it's been amazing getting to do it. The scale at which we're able to help students now with these self-paced courses is just really, really cool. So yeah, that's where I am today.
Nice. You seem like you really are passionate about teaching kind of the next generation, or just people, these data skills, which I think is so important. When you seem excited when you talked about it. You're like, yeah, we're teaching everybody this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I think the moment for me is when at first I had thought, teaching people via video, I didn't think it was going to be as exciting because you don't get that one-on-one interaction. But what the trade-off there is, I could be asleep and somebody halfway across the globe is benefiting from, my SQL courses, and they're learning a skill that's really going to change their career. It's going to help them employ themselves. Yeah. It's going to help them provide for their families and lead to this really exciting career where you're constantly growing, and we help them at the beginning stages of that. And we do actually still get a good amount of interaction with the students. When people get stuck, they'll ask us questions, and we do get to help them. So I feel like I do get to know the students, and just the scale is unbelievable. So it's great.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to reach more people in this now virtual world as well. That even if you wanted to, you probably couldn't get an in-person training session these days. So
nope.
All right, let's go take some. The question is data analytics a good stepping stone into other careers? If so, what kind of careers? So if you want to start with data analytics.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, absolutely. I think it's a fantastic path because there are so many paths that it can lead to. Yeah. So you start as a data analyst. Maybe you will become a data scientist at some point. Maybe you'll become somebody who runs a team of lots of data analysts. Maybe you might go into more of a data engineering role. Maybe you'll use your fantastic data competency that you'll build, and you'll become a leader of a totally different function. So myself, I've taken senior leadership roles in marketing, been the head of marketing for a couple of companies, and I've been a senior person on the product team as well. And in both of those roles, being very data oriented was absolutely the thing that really helped me do those well. So I think the quick thing I'll say is just it's a fantastically flexible career, and just having data mastery, it can help in so many different ways, whether you still want to be really hands-on or whether you want to interact with other people and you want to be good at using information to make decisions. So much flexibility. Yes, absolutely. Do it. And you'll have a lot of fun, and it'll go places.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, having that skill set, you can start, let's say working in financial services, and then you can pivot to healthcare or pivot to any other industry, because those skills are transferable. It's really just a matter of learning what metrics or what data is important, and how do you treat that data across different industries and sectors. We had a question here. The question is that I'm new to this space, where do I start my journey? I know we covered some of that already, but maybe just to reiterate, if somebody's brand new, they've never, had a data role before, maybe never had any job before, and they want to get into the space, how do they break in?
Yeah, I mean, just follow Kate, follow Maven Analytics, start consuming all this amazing free content that is out there on LinkedIn and YouTube. Learn about the differences between data analyst, data scientist, data engineer. Just start to think about which of those might be the most exciting to you, and orient yourself to the space. And then I think after that, you probably want to start picking up some of the tools that you would actually use on the job. The theory and understanding the space is not going to get you a job. Starting to actually solve the problems that we data people solve day to day with the tools that we use, that's what's actually going to be able to have you able to talk to an employer, start to pitch real experience, and show them that you can do what they need you to do. So I'd say those are the first two steps.
Yeah, absolutely. I know they say don't start with just learning tools for no reason, but I think the way you structured it really makes sense, because first, you do some research. Which one of the, let's say, three areas, data analyst, data scientist, or data engineering, do you want to get into? And then I know there are specific tools that are relevant for each of those, focus areas, I guess. And I think taking that next step and looking at a couple of maybe job requirements, opportunities out there, and learning what are the tools that are required across some of these, could be a future step, and then actually picking up the tools and learning them. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what do you think are the more important tools across those three focus areas?
Yeah, so I guess starting data scientist, I think just from the jobs that are open right now, Python would be number one. R is also a fantastic tool to use. You're probably going to want to know SQL because you're going to be dealing with big data sets, and you want to be able to access that data and prepare it for yourself versus having somebody have to hand it to you. And then I think a lot of people don't understand how heavy in terms of stats and math the really good data scientists are. So so make sure you like stats and advanced math before you think that's the right path for you. Whereas in a data analyst role, it's good to not hate numbers, but there's really not a ton of advanced math. It's kind of like fourth grade math applied to large data sets and kind of applied to different business challenges, but it's typically fractions, summing, counting, more simple stuff like that. It's a matter of wrangling these big data sets. So yeah, so data scientist, that's where I'd say you go. Data analyst, you're probably going with Excel and trying to get really good there. And this one will divide people that I say Excel. Some people say it's not a data analyst tool. Other people say you have to use it. I think you should learn it. I think it's the easiest thing to pick up first. It requires no coding. You can start to actually play with logic and start to learn column and row thinking in a way that's very visual and you can manage well. So I think it's a fantastic gateway to being a data analyst. And obviously I'm biased because that's how I got my entry.
Before you tell us more tools, I want to ask the audience, do you guys think Excel is a tool that, a data analyst tool? Just let us know. Yes, if you think so, no, if you don't. It's always interesting to hear from the audience as well. But yes, I do believe that, I don't want to lead the audience, but I do believe that Excel is great for getting started for the reasons you just listed. Plus, it's almost free, and almost everybody has it available on their computer already. But yes, what other tools should we focus on?
Yeah, I would recommend picking up Power BI or Tableau, like some kind of a data visualization tool next. And the one, if you had to pick one right now, I would say Power BI. And so the reason for that is, Tableau for a while was kind of the heavyweight. Power BI has gained a ton of market share to the point where they're basically neck and neck now. And the power users of Power BI haven't really caught up yet, so we get people coming to Maven Analytics all the time saying, hey, I have this analyst, senior analyst, manager in analytics role. And Power BI is so common right now as a need, just because it's in all these organizations and we don't have enough pilots yet. Right. So, but Tableau is fantastic as well. I would go there. Things like Looker. There's other tools that are great to use as well. So not just those, but some kind of a data visualization platform. And then from there, I think I would, again, I'm biased because this is my favorite, but I think SQL is just such a fantastic tool. Most companies that are operating at scale have relational databases that they need people to access data with SQL. And it's just a fantastically flexible tool. You can do analysis, you can do automation, it can aid you in data science. So it can kind of be, if you're a data analyst considering the move to data science, it's kind of a nice thing to start to pursue because there's a lot of overlap there. So those are the ones I would say are definites for a data analyst.
Thank you. And before we get to the data engineer, just referencing comments, we've got Excel is king. Then we've just got a whole bunch of yeses. Oh, look, Chris is here. Yes, yes, yes. I've yet to see a no. So, I mean, just a lot of yeses, a very much so, a definitely yes. So yes, Excel is a data analyst tool. You did not divide anyone, but that's probably because we're talking to, a data audience that believes Excel is used for data analysis.
Yep.
All right. I'll let you get into the third area. So data engineering, what are the tools required?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think SQL, you're going to have to know, how relational databases work. Depending on the scale of the companies you might want to work with, you're probably going to be getting into things like Hadoop or Apache Spark or Snowflake. You're going to need some kind of object-oriented programming language, like Python can be used for that. Other kind of back-end programming languages will likely come up at least a little bit if you're a data engineer. You might run into things like Power BI and Tableau. Kind of the job requirements are, sometimes that can be the role of the data engineer to connect all those pipes. Sometimes that might be on the data analyst. So depending on the company, knowing at least how those work and how they connect to data sets is a fantastic skill to have too. Yeah. So I'd probably say those are the places you want to focus for data engineers.
All right. Thank you, John. So let's say I know which path I want to take, right? I'm at the fork road. I decide which path I want to take. Now I know the tools that I need to learn. How does one actually go about learning these tools? I know there's so many different ways, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the super high level thing is like, you just need to start practicing with them with data sets that are as real and as close to real job projects as possible. And ideally in similar types of roles and industries that you're interested in getting into. So, if you're really interested in healthcare, find some healthcare data and start playing with it. So you can go, probably the two largest repositories for just data in general. You can look at Kaggle, you can look at data.world. I think they're both fantastic. If you're brand new and you go there and you are just like, wow, this is too much, it's overwhelming, because there's some stuff that's maybe really advanced and geared towards machine learning, other stuff that's for beginners, and it sometimes can be a little hard to navigate. Maven also has a solution. It's called the Data Playground. If you go to mavenanalytics.io/data-playground, it's a much smaller list of these really curated data sets it's geared towards beginner to intermediate analysis. And they all come with recommended analysis prompts. So you can just go in there. We give you like 5 questions that you can answer on your own. And you can also obviously freestyle and start diving in. So I'd say go there and just, like I talked about a bunch of tools for each of the roles. I would say at first, just pick one. Yeah. Don't try to learn Excel and SQL and Power BI at the same time. If that's your goal, I would say go Excel and just try to start getting in there. Just focus on one thing and get good at it versus going a little too broad first. So, hopefully that helps people. What do you think about that, Kate?
Yeah, I absolutely love the concept of a data playground. That sounds like literally the most exciting thing in the world to me. It's like, oh my God, it's a data playground. So I'm going to share a link to everyone who signed up for this session to begin with. I'm going to send a follow-up email with the recording, and I'll include some links as well. So I'll make sure to link the data playground so folks can go in and play around. But yeah, I agree. Definitely start with one tool. I was thinking of as you were speaking, I was trying to think of an analogy of like when you're biking, running, and swimming, and you can't like learn how to do all three at the same time, like get really good at it. You have to work some muscles, here, and then maybe learn that really well, and then kind of transfer over to the next one. Not sure that's the best analogy, but either way, I think focusing on one thing at a time is just great for everything you do in life. And I know there are some tools that might be more popular than others in that space. So if you become, let's say, a data analyst and you're trying to decide Tableau versus Power BI, well, another way to kind of narrow down your choice is look at the jobs that you would want to have and look at the job descriptions and see what they are offering there, right? What is the list of, please, I love for my people to have this skill, and see how many times you see those come up. Maybe use data, right? Look at 50 different job requirements and do a little tally. Whoever wins at the end, well, that's the tool you're going to start with. And I know it could be overwhelming, especially since, let's say you've chosen the tool you want to learn. And just for example, let's say it's Power BI because that's the one you used. There are so many things that you can find online, YouTube videos, free content. Power BI offers free content as well. And now you have this data playground that you can go and play with. And I think it's just a matter of trying to focus all of that sea of information that's, for the most part, freely available. And I think what some companies do really well is package that up. And I know Maven Analytics does this really well, is package that up into an easier to consume method where you don't have to be overwhelmed by the sea of information, and you could kind of have your hand held a little bit and said, here's the video you need to watch today. Watch this, do that, practice with this project. And I think that guided approach works for more people. It worked for me, definitely. Anytime I wanted to learn something, I always tried it by myself. But then the guided approach definitely helped me, because a lot of times I would just get stuck, especially with things like SQL and programming, where it's not as easy as just clicking around. You kind of have to know code. Things like that. It's definitely helpful to have that guided approach. And I know Maven Analytics has something cool coming up. I believe you said September 8th. So maybe if you tell the audience a little bit about that at this time, I think that'll be helpful.
Sure. Yeah. So I think at the beginning, we talked about kind of the scale that we get to with video courses and getting to reach so many people. And I think one of the things that the instructors at Maven missed is the direct, hands-on, high engagement with a few individual students that we used to have when we were managers of analysts in our previous careers. And so we're launching something that's going to be a lot more high touch. We have this data analyst bootcamp that is going to start on September 8th. And it's a full-time program. So think 30 to 40 hours a week is the expectation. Live sessions with me, Chris, Enrique, Aaron, Dustin. We're going to take people through Excel, Power BI, Tableau, SQL, and then wrap with a final course that's all about career prep, where we'll take you through getting your resume together, making sure your brand online is really standing out, help you build a project portfolio. And then really the goal of this is people who don't have a data career going yet, but would like to land that first job. And we're going to help you land that. So like I said, it starts September 8th, and we're taking applications through next Wednesday. We're almost filled up in the boot camp, but we've got a few seats left. And for anybody who's watching Kate's show today, if you mention Dedicated in your application, we'll do 20% off of the tuition. So make sure you do that. It's always good to save a little bit. And happy to take any questions that people have, or answer any questions on the boot camp that you might have, Kate.
Yes, I have several questions. So this is probably for someone who doesn't work 40 hours a week. Is that correct? Or
yes.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Because 30, 40 hours a week is it's a lot. And I like that you agree with that, because you'll see some boot camps out there that says, it's 40 hours a week, but you can manage this with your full-time job and your potential kids and house stuff you have to take care of. You'll be fine. Just don't sleep anymore, right?
Yes.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, that's a common question that we get, and we've gotten some people that are very enthusiastic about they can handle their 40-hour-a-week job and the 40 hours of this, but we're not letting any of those people into this program right now. We don't want to. It would be a recipe for disaster. So you need to have a little downtime. So this is people who are currently not working. And there is an expectation of some pretty substantial live components during business hours. So even if the hours weren't as overwhelming as they are, it still wouldn't work with full-time jobs. So
yes, I definitely agree. People can be enthusiastic, like you said, and try to think that they can do this, but
yeah.
accepting them into the program is kind of setting them up for failure, I think, because then they won't be able to juggle all the work.
Yeah.
So
We
it's,
Kate,
yep.
we will be doing a part-time version of this program
Okay.
in the future. It's going to be sometime in 2022. I can't tell you the exact launch date, but I would guess probably late Q1 is when it would roll out, give or take a month in either direction. Just because it has been such a demand for people who are like, tell me when there's a part-time program. I have a job, but I want to do this. So I need something that's more like nights and weekends, or at least flexible, where maybe there's a little bit less of a focus on the live component. The live sessions could be optional with recorded sessions. So we're still working out exactly what that looks like, but something in 2022 for sure.
Okay, cool. So I'm trying to make sure I picture this. September 8th, the thing starts. It runs for 12 weeks.
Yep.
And essentially, I think that brings you up to the end of the year, right? This calendar year. Okay, perfect. Because companies start their new budgets next year. You can apply for jobs, and I know you guys help with that side of things as well. So let's talk a bit about, we went through a journey of picking the path, picking the tool, some learning options, and then when people are really ready to start applying for jobs, share your thoughts on what you think the environment looks like now, and also how Maven, how this bootcamp can help them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so after you get all these tools under your belt, and you start to feel comfortable completing some of the real work that you might do on the job, it all shifts into learning how to market that and present yourself to companies. The first thing that I would recommend is having a really solid project portfolio. And when I talk about a project portfolio, this is something that details the work that you've worked on in a way that's really nicely packaged up so that anyone can consume it. And there's a number of different ways to host it. We can talk about that in a second. But I think first, I'd say just picking one project as an example, the formula for that being really consumable is avoid the mistake that a lot of people make, which is diving into the really technical stuff first. I think a lot of people think, here's my SQL code, here's my Python. That's what is going to impress people. But that's actually a really good recipe for losing people right off the bat. And so keep in mind, when you're presenting these things, you have kind of a wide audience. You might have people like Kate or I, who might be the hiring manager who's also technical in your same field, or you might have somebody who's an HR recruiter, or somebody who's maybe a marketing head who's not an analyst, and you need to serve all of them. So what you should do is start with like a 1 or 2 sentence description of the business problem that you solved, written in simple, plain language that anyone can understand. For example, I optimized this marketing budget to make it more efficient, and we're able to sell 60% more product because of it, right? Something like that, something anybody can understand. Then the next step is take it just one step further, and again, in simple language, share some of the interesting insights that you discovered. So I found that these pockets were ineffective, so we trimmed them. I found that these pockets were working really well, so we scaled up, and we found other similar pockets. So again, keep the communication really at that level. That's how I would start it. And then the last 2 steps, I would definitely try to include a data visualization if you can, just because it's such a big part of any data analyst or data scientist role, is communicating that. And visuals help so much. And it's good eye candy for whoever's receiving this to kind of see what you can do. And then finally, that's when you include your technical flex at the end, right? If you have some Python code, if you have some SQL scripts, like that's when that comes in, and that's when you impress the people that have already seen this person can communicate the business problem. They found these insights. They told the story with data. Oh man, and they did it because they have this deep technical well underneath. So that's the order I'd recommend presenting it in. So any people have questions on that, or Kate, do you have any questions on that?
Yeah, I have a question. So what I'm picturing when you're saying this, so we have the problem statement, maybe some viz, some more technical stuff towards the end of it. Where is this being hosted? Is this like a web page somewhere? Is this a Word doc kind of like that goes behind your resume, or what would you recommend people use?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a bunch of things. Some people do it really, really well with making their own web page, and that can be super fun. Your own web page is, unless you are pointing people at it, they're not necessarily really likely to discover it. But I think if you're interested in having the web page, this is where you can kind of do the most customization. Some people use GitHub. Same thing, like GitHub, probably you're not going to get discovered there. I think because this is the first place that a recruiter is going to look when they're considering you is your LinkedIn profile. I think you have to have these projects shared on LinkedIn and displayed in your featured section right under, so people see your name, they see your short description, and then they start to see these projects that you've worked on. And ideally, it makes a ton of sense what you've worked on. And then they really have a good sense for that. And the other things that you can do, if it's Tableau public is excellent. I see a comment in here asking if interactive data viz are good from George.
Yep.
I think absolutely. It shows one additional layer of what you can do and what you could provide to somebody. And so for them, if it's an easy one to interact with and it's intuitive to use, absolutely that's a great thing to add there. So you can link out to that. And then we always do say, like having the Word doc or a PDF of each individual project, so that, like, let's say I worked on this marketing project and there's a marketing analyst role that comes up. I want it to be super easy to just email that to the recruiter and say, look, I've done this job already. Like, do you want to take a shot on somebody who you don't know if they can do it? Or do you want to just look at what I've done, which is the job that you need to hire for, right? And that's the argument you want to make. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I love all the points that you shared. My follow-up question to this would be, so there's a lot of data available, right? You mentioned Kaggle, you mentioned, I think, data.world, and I know there's several others that people can use. Do you recommend that for, building your project portfolio, do you recommend people use real data, mock-up data specific to that domain that they're applying to, or does it not matter?
Yeah, I think to be as closely job simulated as possible, right? So pick something that you're excited about that also would be valuable to a business, right? And that's where you're going to have the most success in a career anyway, right? Finding the overlap in the Venn diagram of is exciting to me and is valuable to a business. And, so focus on those types of projects. And if you know your industry, ideally grab industry data there, start asking the questions that you think an employer in that industry would be asking an analyst to work on. So, just try to be as job simulated as possible, especially for the industries that you want to work on if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And George just had an add-on comment where you can, maybe create a YouTube channel where you go over your projects to showcase your communication skills. I think that's really powerful. And the thing is, few people will go out of their way to do this because, well, it's a lot of work, might be camera shy, might not want to just get on. I was that way before my first ever video. I was like, first of all, I was off screen. I was reading my notes. It was just terrible.
That's hard to believe.
No, trust me, I'll send it to you. It was really bad. You could see me reading. It was really bad. But I think it's that practicing this and getting comfortable recording those videos can definitely show people that you have communication skills, which I know is a soft skill that people are really looking for these days. So I really like that suggestion from George.
And definitely, I think just that topic we should probably go in real quickly. Having communication skills is so important. The ability to kind of think strategically and have a little bit of business acumen also is tremendously important here. So, the don't just focus on the technical skills. Try to think about those things as well, because that really is how you're going to add value to the business. Your job is not to just analyze data; it's to use data to make an impact on the business, right? And you need to use the tools, but you also need to understand some business strategy, and then be able to communicate that and advocate for your insights to people and get them to take action on it.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a question here from Kevin. He's asking, is there somebody that you would recommend that's on LinkedIn or maybe somewhere else that has their projects listed in a way that you mentioned?
Yeah, I would check out. I hope he doesn't mind me shouting him out here, but Clay Cooper. And the reason I think Clay's a really good example because Clay, he's got his projects showcased online. He's been really active in these data challenges that we put out every month. So he's gotten a ton of brand awareness for himself there. And then Clay is somebody who built a website. And there's if you go to I think it has as a middle initial, so it's not just claycooper.com. It's I forget what the middle initial is, but if you go to his LinkedIn page, you can see in the masthead there on his profile, he has a picture of his website, and he did a great job on his portfolio website. And just I think with Clay, he was doing all these projects and he was competing in these data challenges, and he actually recently just made this change from being a career pharmacist to now being a BI analyst. And during this job interview process, he handed one of his data playground, one of the data challenge entries that he had to the employer to show them, hey, I actually did something very similar in Power BI. Here's me doing the work, right? It's always better to be able to show them that you've done the work than to just tell them.
Yeah.
I think Frank is posting it in the comments right now. Clay.
Yeah, I just found it as well. Clay M. Cooper. I was just looking at some of the work he's got laid out there on the site. So definitely, guys, after the show, go and check out Clay M. Cooper. I think that's really cool. And going back to George's point about making videos, I think it's also helpful because it lets your potential hiring manager get to know you a little bit. It's a lot easier to want to work with somebody once you've met them, even virtually, even if you're just watching a recording. I'm guilty of doing this every time I ask somebody to speak at my conference. I actually YouTube them first and see, if there's any video content available that I can kind of get a sense for their speaking style and all that. So I think it is really powerful to have some videos out there.
Definitely.
All right. I know we have a lot more questions coming in, and I have some more questions for you, but a quick reminder for folks that you just have to type in #dedicated to participate in the giveaway today. We're doing a 1-year unlimited Maven Analytics content. I really thank Maven Analytics for this generous giveaway. We're going to do the giveaway probably in the next 5 minutes or so. So go ahead and get your #dedicated in there. All right, I'm going to go up to some of the questions that are asked here. So Hasib asked, going back to tools, which would you say is more effective and has an edge over other tools? So I know this is a little bit subjective, but from your knowledge of space, what tools would you pick?
Yeah, I mean, so I wouldn't say there's one winning tool, right? There's different tools for different jobs. You need a hammer to bang in a nail. You need a saw to saw a board in half, right? Personally, the two that I still use the most are SQL and Excel. But there's some things that SQL and Excel are not the best for, right? So I think I'd go back to what we talked about at the beginning. Like if you want to be a data scientist, Python, R, SQL. If you want to be a data analyst, Excel, SQL, Power BI, Tableau. If you want to be a data engineer, it's probably Python or some other object-oriented language. SQL, Hadoop, Apache Spark, et cetera, right? So figure out the problem you need to solve and then get the right tool for that job, because there's no one-size-fits-all tool.
Yeah. Since you love talking about tools so much, we have a follow-up question from Jad. Your thoughts on self-service analytics tools versus programming-based tools, and how far can self-service tools really take you, keeping in mind they're improving greatly over time?
Yeah. So let's see. So I'll give maybe an example of Google Analytics versus like a homegrown SQL based website analytics platform.
Hmm.
So Google Analytics is amazing because mom and pop can install it. It's super easy, little JavaScript snippet that you put on your website and you're up and running. It's amazing for aggregate stuff. You don't need code. So, right, like almost anybody could take a 30-minute tutorial on Google Analytics and start to be able to pull some data out of there. It can be a little more limited if you need to do really complicated stuff and granular stuff. There, I think a homegrown tool where everything is connected in relational databases just absolutely blows the doors off of stuff. If I want to say, I want to see people that came and took this specific course on Maven. How long did they stay? Did they ever cancel? Did they come back later if they canceled the subscription? Like when you want to get into really granular, complicated questions like that, a homegrown tool, which my favorite is, a SQL-based relational database that I can use,
Yeah.
just has ultimate flexibility and granularity. So I'd say that's kind of the trade-offs between those.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thank you for that. We'll take one more question here from Fayaz. This is not necessarily tool related, but what certifications do you think are needed for entry level data analyst, if any? What are your thoughts on certifications?
Yeah. So I think certifications definitely should not be the end all be all. I think the most important thing is learning the skills and being able to communicate that you've done projects.
Hmm.
That said, if you're somebody, if you have the option to get a certification, it can be a great way to learn and study, and it is something that can help you market yourself a little bit. But basically, I've probably taken a look at analysts because they had a certification. I've
Hmm.
never hired somebody because they've had a certification.
Right.
I've hired somebody because they showed me their technical skills in a technical screening. So they showed me that they can do the work that I need them to do. They've done great in a quantitative problem solving case study, so I can see how they think. So I think it's most important to get the skills and the experience. But having a certification definitely helps you as well. And I would say just if you are going to go for those, go for really well-known ones. Like Excel offers the Excel 201, which is a data analyst. Power BI DA 100, again, a data analyst certification. So things like that, like go for like a Microsoft, some kind of a big name certification if you're going to.
Right.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah, I
say.
think certifications, I think they used to be really more important maybe when all these things were just coming out. At this point, if I were to hire someone and there were two people, one who has a certification and kind of just started working with this tool and the other one has been using the tool for several years and has a lot of samples to show me, I'm probably going with the one with the samples and where I could see, okay, this person really knows what they're doing. I trust the certification in the sense that I know this person's focused on that space and they've taken the extra step to really prove that they're focused in this space. Combine them together and you're golden. I think if you've got the passion and the certification. We'll take one more question here. This is an interesting one around the job market. How do you cope with the job market where more and more tools are becoming automating, right? So we're automating data analytics. Are data analysts, are they still going to be needed in this space?
Yeah. I love that people say AI is going to take our jobs, right?
Yes.
As somebody who's done a little bit of predictive modeling myself, I'm not too concerned with that. I think
Okay.
if companies are employing things like machine learning, it's just more jobs for people to work on that stuff. So there's tons of jobs available right now in data. I think the key is just showing people that you can do the work. There's absolutely no shortage of employment opportunities. They're not going away. All of this stuff that even kind of machine learning, AI type stuff, we need pilots who understand how it works, who are running that. So it's just another job. So hopefully that helps. Would you agree with that, Kate?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think, the robots are taking all the jobs. I do think some things will be automated that will maybe take some of the remedial work off our hands. And I think it's really keeping up with the times and paying attention to all the innovations that are taking place and learning where you need to pivot so you can learn the newer skills that keep coming out. So you definitely can't relax in the space, but then again, I don't think you can relax in any space. I think we're even closer to the innovation, so we get to see it maybe a little bit before the other industries get a sneak peek. A follow-up here just quickly on certifications from Kevin. Does SQL have any certifications? You should know this of all people.
Yes. Yeah. There are a lot of SQL certifications. There's different ones. MySQL has some, SQL Server. Microsoft puts another one out for Azure, Oracle. I've never gotten one myself personally, and this is something we've really kind of struggled with at Maven. So we offer certification prep courses in Excel, Power BI, and Tableau, and it would be nice and neat for me to offer some kind of a cert prep course for SQL. And so it's something, Chris and I probably talk about once every month. And the reason we haven't yet is a lot of those certifications are really more database administrator focused, at least the biggest ones. So if that's your goal, I would look into those, look into MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server, Azure. If it's on the data analyst side, there's really not a super well-known SQL data analyst certification. If anybody finds one that they think fits, put them in the comments here or direct message me, because it is something we'd love to be able to provide. And it's not the right fit for the data analyst, which is the person that we're really trying to serve the most. So.
Right, that makes sense because you said the other certifications are more on the administrator database side of things, right? Okay. Yep. A question here about this meeting being available later. Yes, there will be a recording of the session. If you just look at the same session once we wrap up, you'll be able to hit refresh and watch the full session. You can also find this on the dedicated YouTube channel right after we wrap up. And on that note, John, I know we went a little bit over time, but I just want to reiterate to folks that they have a week or so left to get their applications in for the Maven Analytics for that bootcamp that you guys have going on starting September 8th. So highly recommend you guys go check that out and put in dedicated into the application to get 20% off. John, question on that bootcamp before we wrap up. Sure. What can people expect at the end of the 12 weeks? What did they get? What have they achieved in that 12 weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna teach you the tools that you're gonna use: Excel, Power BI, Tableau, and SQL. We're going to work on a lot of projects that you can put into a project portfolio and hand to employers. We're going to work on your resume with you. We're going to work on your LinkedIn profile. We're going to do a bunch of other stuff to help you market yourself, help you learn how to find jobs, teach you how to apply to them in the right way. Hint, using your network and not being anonymous through a form. And we'll also leverage our network to help you place you in a role, right? So these people we're going to be working really, really hands-on with. There'll be people that we're comfortable saying, hey, I've been working with Colleen. She's going to be fantastic at SQL and Power BI. And I know you have a role open. I'd love to recommend her for this. So we're going to tap our networks, which, like I think I mentioned earlier on the call, we get people, at least once a day, somebody's pinging me saying, hey, do you have an analyst for this role? From the nature of what we're doing. And everybody knows that we are training analysts. So we'll be helping people get placed as well, which is really, at the end of the day, that's the most exciting thing. Getting to really change somebody's life and help them build this career, which, as I've said, it's really fun. It's constantly solving new challenges and learning. It's lucrative. It has great job security, so it's the most meaningful thing we can do for somebody in our line of work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you take somebody from A to Z in just a matter of 12 weeks and get them set up for success in a career as a data person. The the last question I like to ask my guest is, we have more questions coming in. So where can people go to continue this conversation with you? Where can they find you if they have more questions?
Yeah, awesome. I think online at the biggest place that we're active right now is LinkedIn. I'd say, follow the Maven Analytics page. You could follow me, send me messages. I'm always happy to help people out. And then check out our website, mavenanalytics.io. You can see the offerings that we have. We've both got this boot camp, and we also have self-paced courses that you can complete, which like we talked about, we kind of give you the guided learning experience where we'll point you towards the right courses. We'll help you when you get stuck. So we'd love to hear from you in any of those channels.
Okay, are you ready for this, John? We're gonna do our giveaway.
Awesome.
So
fingers crossed, everybody.
45 entries. Yes, good luck to everybody. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit draw. I still don't have a drum roll, but I guess I can do it on the mic. I don't know. So the winner of this generous giveaway today is Arihant. Congratulations. We're going to follow up with you with an email after the session. Make sure you get your giveaway. I do want to say thank you to everybody for participating in the raffle and for, the great engagement from the audience today. I really appreciate that. And most of all, John, thank you so much for your time today and all the advice that you shared with the audience.
Yeah, Kate, thank you so much for having me on, and everybody, thanks for the questions. It's been fun. This is the stuff I love talking about. So happy to do it anytime.
Awesome. All right. Well, everybody stay dedicated, and I will see you all online.